Karen insists on a VIP table, claiming to know the owner, but little does she know, I am the owner. After my revenge, she ended up in tears with a $4,000 bill. Karen bursts into the restaurant, yelling that she knows the owner and demands the VIP table reserved for celebrities. The problem is, I own the place and have no clue who she is. I decided to humor her and see how things would unfold. During dinner, one of the girls asked if I felt my life was pointless because I worked as a waiter. That's when I realized it was time for my retribution. This incident happened around Christmas and New Year's. My grandparents moved to Canada from Italy in the 1970s and opened a restaurant. After their passing, my parents took over and expanded the business over the years. I've been working there since I was 15. As my parents aged, they retired and became snowbirds, spending winters in Florida. A few years ago, they sold the restaurant to me but kept a small percentage of the shares as extra income. Once I took over, I revamped the establishment, redesigned the logo, and contacted local and national media for promotions. I invited food critics, bloggers, and vloggers. Initially, it was slow, and I feared that the loan I took out for renovations was a colossal mistake, potentially ruining 3 generations of family legacy. However, things soon picked up. A local semi-famous YouTuber featured us in a video, leading to an influx of customers and reviews. Even on a Monday, we were experiencing 5 to 10 times our usual activity. We became a hotspot for large events, and it wasn't rare for celebrities to drop by on certain nights. I even invited some high-profile clients to cook for our guests, which was expensive but kept us fully booked for the holidays. People had to reserve tables in July for December dining. It took years to reach this point. When it gets busy, I don't just stay in the back office. I'm on the floor doing whatever needs to be done, whether it's greeting guests, clearing tables, or mopping floors. On nights with high-profile attendees, I wear a jacket and take charge. One night, 6 women entered. 5 seemed to be in their early 20s, with the leader appearing to be in her mid-20s. I guessed she was either an older sister or a sorority sister of one of the girls. As I greeted them, Queen Bee Karen was telling the other girls how amazing our restaurant is, how delicious our food is, and that there might even be celebrities present. When she approached me, she said she needed a table for 6. I asked for the name on the reservation. She looked at me and said, "Oh, I didn't make one, but it's fine. The owner is a close friend of mine, and he always keeps a couple of tables available for special guests." This is common in many high-end restaurants, and I had been doing it too, but I had no clue who she was and she hadn't mentioned anything to me. I realized she was trying to get in without a reservation, but she picked the wrong person to attempt this with. I told her we couldn't seat anyone without a reservation and pointed out that we had no available seats. I didn't want to reveal that I was the owner and that we had never spoken before, nor did I want to embarrass her in front of her friends. She then instructed one of the girls to take a photo of me, claiming she would talk to the owner and ensure that I was either scrubbing toilets or fired by the end of the week. The other girls chimed in, saying things like, "Yeah, kiss your minimum wage job goodbye." I wasn't sure if they were all in on it or if they genuinely believed she knew the owner. Queen Bee Karen then threatened, "You can either give us a table, or I'll make your life very difficult. It's not worth losing your job." She kept belittling me, saying things like, "Obviously you aren't anyone here, or you would know who I am and would never tell me anything but yes or of course." She was trying to undermine me and take that table. At that moment, I had 3 choices. Tell her I'm the owner and confront her, simply give her the table, or teach Queen Bee Karen and her friends a lesson. I chose the third option. I smiled and said, "Of course, ma'am, please follow me." I led her to one of the 3 tables we keep open for celebrities, which occasionally happens. I apologized for the inconvenience and agreed it would be easier to give her the table. I also assured her that the first 3 rounds of drinks would be complimentary. I seated them and took their orders, letting them know that we needed one of their credit cards and IDs to keep on file, which we would return before they left. Queen Karen handed me her card and told her friends, "Tonight is on me." I served them their free drinks and informed them that due to the busy night, their meal might take longer. The girls were only focused on the free drinks. They ordered 3 rounds but hadn't received any food yet. Eventually, they called me to check on their order while giving me a terrible attitude. I assured them I would look into it and asked if they wanted more drinks. They ordered 2 additional rounds, and by the time the appetizers arrived, they were quite tipsy, having only consumed drinks on an empty stomach and nibbling on salads. As more food came out, they continued to order drinks. What they didn't realize was that they were at our VIP table, which usually costs thousands of dollars, but I didn't charge them for it. Except for the first 3 rounds, I billed them for all the expensive cocktails they consumed that evening. Additionally, the menu at their table was different, with no prices displayed. This is a secret in the restaurant industry. The menu featured higher-end items, including white truffles, black caviar, and specially imported West Coast oysters. At one point, I began to doubt my actions, worried I was going too far with these girls who might not know better. However, I was encouraged when one of the girls questioned if I thought my life was worthless because I was just a server. Another staff member informed me that they were plotting to mess with me, thinking they could do so whenever they wanted and that I would always give them a table. I overheard comments like, "He's cute, but I wouldn't date a waiter like that. He's such a pushover." With remarks like that throughout the night, I continued with my lesson. By the end of the night, each girl had racked up a bill between $500 to $600. I handed Queen Karen a bill for $4,232, which included tax and tip. I had never seen someone sober up so quickly. She went from laughing and enjoying herself to nearly in tears. She immediately called me over, asking if this was a joke. I took the bill, reviewed it, and apologized, saying I would get her the correct amount. She seemed relieved, thinking she had received someone else's bill, and called me an effing idiot before returning to her friends. When I brought her the correct bill, she flipped out again, questioning if there was something wrong with it. The girls were stunned as they scrutinized every line, including the initial complimentary drinks. They pulled out their phones to double-check everything. Queen Bee said, "1 second, I need to use the restroom." Part of me feared she might try to skip out on the bill, leaving her friends to pay. I discreetly reminded her that we had her ID and credit card without making it too obvious. 10 minutes later, she returned with fresh makeup, clearly having cried, and complained about how terrible the food and drinks were, demanding at least a 50% discount. She insisted her friends would help, even though she'd previously claimed the night was on her. Then, as if a light bulb went off, she mentioned her supposed relationship with the owner again, as if that would persuade me to lower the bill. I smiled and told her, "No, simply no. I can't change the bill." She then pulled out her phone, showing me text messages from someone named after my restaurant, followed by owner. I immediately understood what she had done in the restroom, most likely changing a contact name and erasing previous texts to create a new narrative. I examined the messages and clicked on the contact information, telling her, "That's not the owner's cell phone number." She replied, "He has multiple phones for business, of course. You don't know all his numbers." I suggested, "How about this? If we call him and he says it's okay to take 50% off the bill, then I'll do it." Her reaction was to start ranting and screaming, attracting the attention of the remaining patrons, and I knew it was time to end this. I told her firmly, "Cut the crap, little girl. You don't know the owner. You've never been here before, and if you keep ranting, I'll call the cops." Her tone shifted as she tried to defend herself, but I responded, "My grandfather established this restaurant. My family has run this business for generations. I've worked here nearly my entire life. I am the sole owner of this restaurant, and I have never seen you, heard of you, or made any promises to a stranger I've never met before tonight." The little Karens were frozen, unsure how to react, while Queen Bee was in tears. I added, "Now, I provided you with the table you wanted, one of the specially reserved tables for high-end clientele, which I did not charge you for, along with 3 rounds of free drinks. If you don't pay your bill, I will call the cops and provide them with your identification." Karen signed the bill in tears, while the other girls scrambled to contribute whatever cash they had, likely a couple of $100s, promising to pay her back later. 2 days later, an angry man arrived at my restaurant, asking to speak with one of my bartenders. I was in the back office, so he had to wait about half an hour. She was with him but kept her head down. I took them to my office and showed him highlights from the security footage, which had excellent audio since it was in the VIP area. We needed to maintain accurate records due to previous unrelated incidents. I showed him most of the footage, including their comments and orders. When it was all over, he stormed out with her, yelling at her the entire way. I haven't seen or heard from them since, but the initial bill I presented them, which didn't include the $120 oysters, is framed on my desk. As a side note, I didn't lose as much money on that table and the first 3 rounds of drinks as one might think. The table was meant to be empty anyway, so I didn't lose anything since I hadn't expected to gain anything initially. The cost of the meal and other drinks more than compensated for the loss from those first 3 rounds. Now that you know everything, am I the jerk? Probably the most astonishing aspect of this situation, aside from the money and their attempts to muscle their way into a table, was their perspective on the world. That single comment regarding my perceived inadequacy as a waiter stood out. It seems I was ready to ease up on my revenge plan, but then one of the girls asked if I felt my life was meaningless because I was merely a server. That must be one of the most entitled viewpoints I've encountered. It may not be as thrilling or outrageous as some other stories, but the fact that she genuinely views the world this way is simply sickening. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having a job, regardless of the income. This happens often with positions like janitors, and I detest when people think they are superior just because they don't work in those roles. There's nothing wrong with being a janitor. I don't understand that mindset, but in this case, she not only feels that way but also wants to ridicule me for doing a challenging job like waiting tables, or at least that's what she believes I'm doing. One more thing. I'm glad this story ended on a somewhat satisfying note, with the father trying to reverse the situation but getting angrier with his daughter than with the restaurant owner. The only thing that concerned me was that the restaurant was recording audio of the individuals at that table. I'd probably avoid dining at a restaurant if I knew my conversations were being recorded. Anyway, I'm pleased it turned out well for me, but please share how you would have handled the situation if it were your restaurant and these were your customers. Was I a jerk or not, and why? Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.